So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening,
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening.
dear friends and colleagues in
Yes.
Florida and elsewhere who may be watching this little video we're putting together for you here today. We've been asked by FSOMA, who are graciously sponsoring our forthcoming seminar in Florida at a beautiful hotel on the beach in Fort Lauderdale, March 18th to 20, to just provide you with a little introductory video to our certification series in constitutional facial acupuncture archetypes. So we're going to talk today about the Shaoyang stage just a bit, just to give you a little teaser.
Exactly.
And, we think that you'll find it very interesting.
And we will tell you a little bit more about it as we go along. And it will be a short presentation. Did you want to try these questions?
Yeah, so we've been asked to sort of share a little bit about the genesis of this course, why first of all, why we're very excited to teach it, and what we think, what benefits will accrue to you as a consequence of your participation.
So Natalia asked us why we balance this work and our teachings and why this is so important to share. For me, as an acupuncturist for 20 plus years and practitioners for 30 plus years, hands-on work. I believe that it's very important to share the work because it evolves the practitioner and it helps change. And because we're so interactive and hands-on, people literally experience treating other people as well as receiving treatments as well. The information is extremely important in that we, especially with this archetypes, it's a very interesting and wonderful course and very practical. And I think it's very important to share knowledge and to be generous when you're working with your colleagues and your students. And I've been working with students in rehab for many, many years all over the world, including Australia, New Zealand, Germany, UK, Switzerland, and we will be going to some of those, Canada, hopefully going to some of those places soon, and especially to Florida, to the Westin on the beautiful ocean for FSOMA, the 18th, 19th, and 20th of March, and we look forward to seeing you there. In the meantime,
So here, just a little bit of background as to how this course came to be. First of all, if those of you that don't know our work will probably not be aware of the fact that we do have some 20 courses that we offer, and this is the second in our somatic series of trainings. It builds on some of the treatment protocols from our core certification series, Advanced Constitutional Facial Acupuncture, and we both feel that there is a great deal of depth in this modality and that you simply can't truly achieve mastery of it with just a single course. This one is particularly interesting in that it combines psychospiritual considerations from both the Chinese tradition and to a certain extent from the Western tradition, and a wealth of practical treatment protocols. And everybody manifests, to some extent, one or more of these physical and psychospiritual archetypes. So it's a fascinating investigation. And I have to give all credit to Mary Elizabeth. This really stems from a research that she did when she was in acupuncture school and a paper that she wrote at the time. And
called Acupuncture Archetypes.
Yeah, and I've been able to sort of piggyback on it a little bit as the years have gone by, as we've deepened in our teaching and grown more comfortable with the material and with the experience of these archetypes in the real world.
And that answers that second question, how this protocol or this seminar will help evolve acupuncture to evolve in their practice. And we just are, you're going to see, we're going to talk about that. It is very much the hands-on portion, teaching you and giving you a handout. We actually give you your own little booklet so that you can follow through. But I do think this does, because we enjoy teaching so much, and I've taught so many years with you too. I think that the acupuncture practitioner actually does evolve with these new protocols and treatments. And ways of being. And as Michelangelo said, it's not only physical, it's body, mind, spirit, which is really, really what we need right now.
Yeah, we very much participate in our own thinking in an alchemical paradigm of facial acupuncture, which we do focus on in another one of our certification series, that you, the practitioner, are really participating to a certain extent in a quantum universe, and that you cannot separate yourself from the patient, so that as your patient evolves, so do you. And the other interesting thing about this is that these treatment protocols can be applied to virtually everyone. You know, we're going to talk about the Shaoyang stage today that has a certain amount of to do with the sides of the body. So even if a person isn't technically a Shaoyang type, they can nevertheless benefit from these treatment protocols.
We have actually two little books that we're using, the three Yangs, which would be Taiyang, Shaoyang, Yangming, and the three Yins, Taiyin, Shaoyin, Yueyin. And that is in a book that we are going to give you so that you have everything in front of you, including the diagrams and the needling, etc. in the information. We have them all ready to go.
And it goes without saying that we're very excited at the prospect of teaching our first live seminar in 2 years. We did present at FSOMA Con last August, which was very exciting, but this is really what we've been doing all these years, and we're very pleased at the prospect of returning to it.
And a couple of years ago, we were in Palm Beach teaching for FSOMA, which was fantastic.
Absolutely.
So
I just want to comment a little bit on this wheel here on the opening slide. This is another way of looking at various archetypes. You know, we can identify with these to a certain extent, the sage, the hero, all these types of things. So just to sort of begin your thinking about these universal patterns, which we're going to talk about right now.
When you're thinking of the Shaoyang, we're thinking of an optimistic person and a tendency toward being impulsive. Do you want to?
Well, I just wanted to say here in a general sense that this whole idea of centering a course around archetypes is one that's very interesting. And there is a certain amount of precedent for it. But when we look at these things, we're really seeking to identify certain basic patterns that your patients, and obviously you as a participant in our class, can connect with and then utilize in your everyday life. So this notion of an archetype, of course, as you can see on the screen, really is an original pattern. And when we first conceived of this course, we actually had the subtitle, "What was your original face?" You know,
before you were born, right?
Yeah. Finding your original face, which is a very potent notion. You know, this sense of turning back the clock metaphorically and identifying in a very concrete and useful way what you know, your particular original pattern is. And as I note here on the slide, this notion of discovering one's original face provides the practitioner and patient with a potent image of a revitalization. I mean, one of the things that's been a hallmark of Mary Elizabeth's courses since the very beginning is this idea of renewal, which we do talk about in other courses. And the notion is that you can be renewed at any age, and you can reconnect with this vital aspect of yourself at any age.
Absolutely. That's well said, Michelangelo. We're going to look at the criteria. I just wanted to say for a minute that we're going to be looking at the constitution of the Shaoyang here and the other archetypes when we meet with you and teach. But you're looking at your own constitution as well as your psychological, your behavior, your preferences, your likes, your dislikes, right, Michelangelo?
Absolutely.
Your habits. And that has to do with integrating what? The 6 stages, the 6 energies, right? We all know what that is. That's based upon the Shang Hang Lun. And then we're combining that with the 5 elements or phases that make up your constitutional profile. And it's very easy to do. We go through it and you get the idea. And it's interesting because your constitutional profile has to do with your constitution and what you inherited as well as your tendency toward psychological tendencies.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, Michael, do you want to?
So you can see here some of the criteria. I just want to point out physiognomy, because obviously there's been a great resurgence of interest in Chinese physiognomy in recent years, as well as to a lesser extent, Western physiognomy. The late, great Lillian Bridges was certainly one of the
Oh, God
principal
bless her. It's wonderful.
one of the principal proponents of physiognomy, and we do teach a great deal of it in our various courses. The whole notion of physiognomy, of course, is the idea that your physical being, to a certain extent, determines your destiny. And I'm fond of saying when I teach it in our classes that physiognomy in both East and West is really where medicine begins. That you, in looking at the way a person appears, you can gain insight into what their frailties might be. And I would certainly say for myself, in identifying with various of these archetypes that we're going to introduce to you in March, that virtually everything that has happened to me from a health-related perspective has a tremendous amount to do with my physiognomy. So I think that this is a particularly potent part of constitutional facial acupuncture archetypes.
So when we're working with the Shaoyang, I just want to tell you, because it has to do with the side of the body, right? Yang Ming front, Tai Yang back, and Shaoyang the side of the body. So I've created some trigger, motor, and usher points. Of course, usher points you find anywhere, acupuncture points, and we give you in your book a template as to how you can needle them, and we'll be demonstrating as well. So when you're looking at the Shaoyang, just to give you an example, we're looking at TMJ, the jaw here, and the temporalis muscle, and there are treatments for how you working with somebody who has a problem with their jaw, right? The masseter muscle, TMJ. You also have a treatment for the scalene muscles behind the SEM. Scalene muscles are they're called the entrappers. It's very difficult to work with, and I show you how to work with that with motor trigger and usher points. The last one, and one of the other ones I wanted to talk about, is the torso, the internal obliques, which is what around gallbladder 26. You have a diagram and a way of treating that and releasing bilaterally gallbladder 26 around the waist. And that's very important if somebody's been in a car accident or had a problem, or they pulled the side of their body, or they're in pain, or they're tight. And so these treatments are really important, not only for the Shaoyang, but for the other archetypes. And they're all written down there clearly. They're pictures of how we're going to do it, et cetera, in your handout. So
absolutely,
just wanted to tell you that to give you an now these are the three yangs, and of course there are archetypes and treatments for the three yins as well, which would be what, Tai Yin, right?
Tai Yin, Xiao Yin, and Zhui Yin, they are
Yin.
very interesting. I mean, as are the Yangs, but the Yins are particularly interesting.
Emotionally interesting.
Psychospiritually. Just looking here at the screen, here's another perspective on archetypes. You can see some of the universal archetypes we have here, the wizard or the sage, you know, the wise woman.
Well, it looks like Cleopatra.
Yeah, the warrior, the scientist, you know, just another way of
the
looking.
happy guy with the white beard there?
That's
God.
Santa Claus.
No, it isn't.
It's the great god Pan. It's the ghost of Christmas past. Whatever you're comfortable with respect to that.
Exactly.
So, of course, we are going to be talking about the 6 stages and the 6 energies. We have alluded to that already. Mary Elizabeth has pointed out that they are defined in the Shanghan Lun, and they are a combination of both the 12 regular meridians and the 6 climatic conditions, right? Now, the French acupuncturist Yves Requenat, who was part of that whole group of pioneering acupuncturists that from France that went to Vietnam and brought acupuncture back to the West for the second time, expatiated a great deal on the 6 stages in one of his books. And he actually subjected people, as you can see on the screen, to various types of testing, and then prescribed, interestingly enough, as you can note here, tissue salts and minerals to help with their imbalances.
Yeah, and I read that book, The Terrains in Psychology, and I was very fascinated with it. And that was the precursor to me. How do we work with this? That was many, many years ago. And I still have the book. And this was the beginning of creating an acupuncture treatment protocol based upon the terrains and psychology. in acupuncture. The French, I won't talk a lot about it, were the first to bring acupuncture to the Western world from Vietnam, Yves Requena being one of them, right?
Yeah, they had earlier brought it from
Mhm.
China, but in the 20th
Vietnam.
century, they brought it from Vietnam because, of course, Vietnam was a French colony.
Occupied by the, yes. And what was it, Yves Requena, who else?
Tanguy, Sully de Moran,
all of those
our
people.
friend Jacques Lavier.
Jacques Lavier. And so you have an idea that this is based upon study. And then I evolved a treatment protocols based on acupuncture to work with this. But we also work with a psycho-emotional level. Very simply, you find what your own archetype is. And I just want to say that the French actually brought that back from Vietnam and before that China. So they were able to write down the different archetypes and your year of birth and basically what archetype, one or two archetypes you might be. It's not to force you to feel that you're that way, but you may feel that, oh, that really, that's me. And also then there's a treatment on a physical level, body, mind, spirit with these treatments. And we demonstrate all of that for you.
Again, the great virtue here is that this is ostensibly a facial acupuncture class, but as those of you who are familiar with Mary Elizabeth's work will know, since the very beginning, she has emphasized a constitutional component to the treatments. And we have this writ large in these 6 customized treatments for these 6 archetypes.
Well, you also are working with the 8 extraordinary meridians and the Mu Shu points in the body. It depends. And so you've got 3 levels, the Jing, the Yin, and the Wei, right?
Yep.
Prenatal, postnatal, and the tendinomuscular.
Yep.
And it's all very, very constitutionally based as well as working with the head, neck, and face.
Yeah. So here are the 6 stages, of course: Taiyang, Shaoyang, Yangmin, Taiyin, Shaoyin, and Zhuiyin. And we're going to expatiate on their organ and elemental involvement, as well as their psycho-spiritual characters. But Shaoyang, as we've noted already, is the optimistic impulsive type. Now, we'll go into a great deal more depth about that aspect of it. I'll just say that the blending of the 2 elements in Shaoyang does produce a certain type, which at least historically I would have characterized as athletic types, star athletes who often, of course, aspire to other things. We're going to see some physical examples of some Shaoyang types, and I think you'll be interested to see who seems to pop up. But we'll go into that in much greater detail in the course. Here are some, just to, again, as a further teaser for you, some of the health-related tendencies that this type has. There is a wood-fire blending, so they do have sort of the topical allergies of wood, sensitive eyes. Obviously, the involvement of the fire element brings in various types of cardiovascular imbalances, disturbances in menses, various types of digestive disturbances that are more wood-related,
cardiovascular imbalances, etc.
Yeah, and so again, this is just sort of a little teaser. We will expatiate on this in greater depth in the course. And you can see some of the psycho-emotional disorders you might find with this, nervous anxiety, insomnia, etc. Right? And here are some examples. Now, you're going to look at this and say, oh my God, these are all actors, right? And this is the interesting thing about actors, I think, in recent years, is that they really, well, many of them are more athletes than they are actors at this point. They have to spend a great deal of time at the gym so that they look good. And, and there is a great deal of athleticism that is called upon from them, as opposed to, say, their 19th century counterparts or their 18th century counterparts.
And I wonder how many of these people you recognize. Michelangelo is going to talk you through it quickly.
Yeah, some really famous people here: Bryan Cranston, Kim Cattrall, Jim Carrey, of course, Allison Hannigan, who some of you will know from, I can't remember the name of the sitcom now, but very famous sitcom. Christopher Reeve, of course, who was Superman and very athletic. Bill Maher, Daniel Craig, one of the most recent James Bonds, and
who is the last one?
Ashley Judd. So here we have, and this is all based, interestingly enough, on their birth year. And so we just want to tease you a little bit here. We will give you this chart in the class so that you can look up your birth year and
Yes,
see if
yes,
your
you can
own.
take a look at Shaoyang. We've got firewood, and it's for only from 19 to 2000. We can actually do the math and add on a few years.
Yep.
And this came from the French,
Hmm.
and we are one archetype. We may be 2 or 3 archetypes. It's not necessarily only one thing, and it's interesting to see how you interface with yourself or your patients or your family, emotionally, psychospiritually, physically, how we think, how we are, how we be. It's not to make you feel that that's the way you need to be, but it's amazing how this works. So you've had enough time to look at your year, and we will, what do you think?
Yeah, I know it's
Move
very
on.
interesting to look at your birth year and then see if you resonate with it. I mean, according to my
Mine
birth
too.
year, I'm Shaoyang, and I would certainly argue that maybe I was Shaoyang when I was a kid, but I probably evolved to be more Yang Ming, you know,
And it's also the
in my
element
maturity.
involved as well.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. So
So
it's quite
all of this is
fascinating.
interesting and hands-on, and we will be guiding you. We're going to be doing demonstrations. We'll be going to help you work on other people if that is what you want to do. I recommend it. And we will give you a beautiful book and
Two
hope-
books,
two
two
books,
beautiful
Yang
books.
and Yin. We hope that you will come. We've taught this all over the world, and it's been extremely popular.
Yes.
So, and please feel like you can get a hold of us with any questions.
Yes, you have our contact information there.
Exactly.
Please feel free to email with any pertinent questions. We hope that we've piqued your interest with this
Mhm.
this little bit of introduction to this material. We certainly find it fascinating
Oh,
and
mhm.
powerfully resonant. It has been for many of our
Yeah,
practitioners and students down through the years.
and I really want to thank FSOMA and Ellen Teeter and Natalie and everybody who works there. They're amazing people and very supportive, and we've worked with them for quite a bit, for a long time.
Yes.
And we want to thank them very much for supporting us, and we support them. And let's come in and support, and we'll see you in Fort Lauderdale.
Yes,
in
absolutely.
March.
Yes.
Any questions, get a hold of us and we'll get back to you.
Yep.
All right. Thank
So
you.
thanks for your kind
Thank you.
attention. We look forward to seeing you in March.
Ciao, ciao. Bye.
Ciao for now.
Thank you.